Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're plunging headfirst into a character that's suddenly very relevant to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Franklin Richards, the incredibly powerful son of Reed Richards and Sue Storm. And for this one, we're actually revisiting an incredibly insightful video from Rob over at Comics Explained. Seriously, if you're into Marvel Comics breakdowns, you got to check him out. He's the best in the business. His video, Too Powerful for Marvel Movies, Franklin Richards, came out a while back, but with Franklin now officially popping up in Fantastic Four, first steps in the MCU, well, it feels like the perfect time to go back and kind of react to his breakdown.
Oh, absolutely. It really is. What's so fascinating here is, how Marvel has handled really powerful characters before. Like, think Thor or Captain Marvel, but Franklin. He pushes those boundaries, to a completely different level compared to the comics. His power levels are just, well, cosmic, properly cosmic. And bringing that to the screen, that presents a significant challenge. The big question, like Rob puts it, is how do you even adapt a character who is, for all intents and purposes, basically a god?
Yeah, I love how Rob he doesn't pull any punches, right?
Yeah.
Straight out of the gate. He calls Franklin God broken, even astronomically broken. And honestly, when you look at Franklin's history in the comics, it's pretty hard to argue with him, isn't it?
You're totally right. The history really does paint the picture. I mean, his debut, Fantastic Four Annual #6 back in 1968, It actually starts with his power being a threat, before he was even born. The original idea was that he was siphoning off Sue Storm's life energy while still in the womb. Pretty intense start.
Whoa, yeah.
So to balance that energy out, save Sue, Reed, Johnny, and Ben had to trek into the negative zone, that dangerous antimatter dimension.
Right.
To grab the cosmic control rod from Annihilus.
Ah, Annihilus. And just for anyone listening who might not know, Annihilus is this classic FF villain, big, scary insectoid ruler of the negative zone. And that whole quest for the rod, that's actually how Annihilus first even learned about the Fantastic Four, right?
Yeah.
Which kind of indirectly set the stage for the huge Annihilation event way later, that massive cosmic war.
Exactly.
So Franklin's birth literally kicked off cosmic history.
It's a foundational moment. It really shows his innate disruptive power right from day one. And for a long time, his abilities were tied to that cosmic control rod, made him seem like potentially a second Galactus. But like Rob pointed out, there was that major retcon later.
Right, the mutant thing.
Yeah, in 2005, with the 198 files, Franklin got reclassified as an Omega-level mutant.
An Omega level, just to clarify, that means their main power has, an undefinable upper limit.
Yeah.
Right? Basically incredibly, almost uncontrollably powerful.
Precisely. So that shift, moving away from an external source like the rod to him being inherently a mutant, it fundamentally changed how we understood his powers. It established them as truly his. You see this kind of thing in comics, continuity evolves. It lets writers explore new angles, And it also opened the door for him to maybe connect with the X-Men's world eventually, which is pretty interesting.
Definitely. But even with that change, his early power displays were still pretty wild. Like Days of Future Past. He was seen as so important, so dangerous, that he was captured and forced to wear one of those mutant containment devices around his neck.
Yeah.
And it limited him to just telepathy and telekinesis. And he was just a kid, already considered a massive threat.
It tells you everything, doesn't it? About the sheer scale of his raw power. Even suppressed, he was still formidable.
Then there's that classic story, Fantastic Four, #245. Young Franklin, he's frustrated with a puzzle, right? He hears a TV commercial say, "Why don't you just grow up?" And bam.
Oh, yeah, I remember this.
He accidentally ages himself into this adult figure called Avatar. Sue comes home, house is trashed, and there's this weird, blonde, kind of Jesus-looking guy who turns out to be her son.
It's such a bizarre, classic FF moment.
Totally. And after that, Reed tried to, he put these mental blocks in place, right, to keep Franklin's powers dormant. But even with those blocks, they'd still flare up sometimes. Remember when he started spawning different versions of himself in Fantastic Four's #10?
Uh-huh. It's a recurring theme, isn't it? Franklin's power, it just couldn't be fully contained no matter what Reed did. It just hints at that immense, almost uncontrollable potential just bubbling under the surface, even as a child. He's like a force of nature, not just some kid with powers.
And that potential, man, it absolutely exploded in some of Marvel's biggest events. Rob detailed some of the most notable ones, like during the Onslaught saga.
Yeah.
Mid-90s, that was. And Onslaught, for context, was this psychic entity made from Professor X and Magneto merging. Insanely powerful.
Right.
Franklin got absorbed by Onslaught. And even Apocalypse, the ancient super mutant, was apparently interested in him as a potential new host. That's how critical his power was seen.
And the fact that it was Sue, his mom, who had to rescue him, that really highlights the emotional core, even amidst all the cosmic craziness, that mother-son bond, it's often the key to his power, or controlling it.
Totally. But the real showstopper for me, the one Rob talked about, was Heroes Reborn.
Oh, Heroes Reborn, yeah.
Franklin missed his family so much after they seemingly died fighting Onslaught that he literally created a pocket universe, this little blue ball he carried around, to resurrect them all. He pulled the Avengers, the FF, Spidey, everyone who died, into this new reality he made.
It's just mind-blowing when you think about it. A child did that.
And then a celestial, one of those ancient space gods, basically showed up and told him, nope, you got to choose one Earth. So he chose to bring his family back to the main Marvel universe and, poof, destroyed his own creation. That's next-level reality warping.
It's hard to even overstate the magnitude of that feat, really. He didn't just make a room, he made an entire functional universe. History, life, everything. And then he just unmade it. That's not just powerful, that's godlike.
And then you have the Abraxas saga, early 2000s. Abraxas was this multiversal entity that popped up when a Galactus died, right? And he went around destroying every version of Galactus across all realities.
Right, the Galactus killer.
And Franklin Richards, still basically a kid, resurrected Galactus from the dead.
Wow. Okay.
And then Galactus used the ultimate nullifier, the weapon that can wipe anything from existence on Abraxas.
Yeah.
So here's this kid defying death itself on a universal scale.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, like Rob is getting at, these events aren't just, cool comic book moments. They genuinely demonstrate Franklin's innate reality warping, life creation abilities. He's not just strong, he's like a fundamental force. He can make matter from nothing, just ignore physics, bring people back from the dead. That puts him in a league of his own, really.
Which brings us perfectly to Jonathan Hickman's run on Fantastic Four. The run that really cemented Franklin as this, utterly godlike figure, a universal constant. Rob explained how an adult Franklin from the future showed up, kind of subtly woke up his younger self's powers to save Reed, because Reed was supposed to die in the future otherwise.
Hickman's run took everything that was established about Franklin's power and just showed us the true terrifying implications. It wasn't just if he was powerful anymore, but what that power actually meant for the whole Marvel universe.
And once young Franklin's powers fully woke up, man, it was game over. He literally starts creating entire universes.
Yeah.
In his bedroom.
Under
his blanket.
Yeah.
Like, most kids hide from monsters under there. Franklin's making new realities. And the adult Franklin even comes back to teach his younger self how to be God. Creating solar systems, planets, stars from scratch. This, by the way, is what famously explained his role in putting universes back together at the end of Secret Wars. Huge event payoff.
It established him as a fundamental architect of the multiverse, not just someone living in it. That level of power, it's not just an advantage in a fight, it completely shifts the whole narrative structure.
And the climax of Hickman's run, that epic fight against the Mad Celestials, those giant space gods we mentioned. Adult Franklin, having basically absorbed all his younger self's power potential, just casually one-punches a Celestial, knocks it out cold. And then, in one of the most, frankly, badass moments ever, he resurrects Galactus again, controls him like a giant cosmic puppet, and uses him to just annihilate the rest of the Mad Celestials. Talk about a power flex.
Hickman's run didn't just show his power, it really solidified him as this universal constant, something beyond Omega level. He's not just a powerful mutant, he's woven into the fabric of reality itself. It makes him undeniably one of the most powerful beings in Marvel, period. And, there's that little detail from Dark Reign Rob mentioned too, where young Franklin shoots Norman Osborn with a real bullet from a toy gun.
Oh, right. That was chilling.
Yeah, it's terrifying. It shows how his powers can leak out in these incredibly subtle, almost unconscious, yet deadly ways. He might not even realize what he's doing.
So when you stack all that up,
Yeah.
all that raw, reality-bending power, it really drives home Rob's central question, doesn't it? How do you even begin to put a character this powerful into the MCU without him just solving everything instantly? The inevitable question, if he shows up at full power, is always going to be, okay, why doesn't Franklin just fix this? It's a huge narrative problem.
It's that classic narrative pitfall, yeah. If your hero can just wave a hand and make all the problems disappear, where are the stakes? And stakes are what make us care, right?
Ruck made that really crucial distinction, didn't he, between a reality warper and a matter manipulator. He used that great clay analogy.
Yeah, I like that.
A matter manipulator takes the clay that's already there and reshapes it, say, into a horse.
Yeah.
But a reality warper, like Franklin, he could just create more clay out of thin air if he needs it, then reshape it. He can make something from absolutely nothing, fundamentally defy physics. Even things like the Infinity Gauntlet or a cosmic cube, crazy powerful as they are, they mostly operate on existing reality. Franklin's powers seem to operate on a level beyond that.
That's the absolute key difference. Most cosmic artifacts, they manipulate what's already there, energy, matter. Franklin creates. He is the source. And that's why he's so uniquely problematic for storytelling if you don't find a smart way to, rein him in a bit.
Rob had those hilarious examples too, like Franklin just deciding to manifest Hogwarts and make Harry Potter real. Can you imagine? Chuckles. What kind of parent-teacher conferences would Reed and Sue have then?
Chuckle.
But seriously, that level of power is just mind-boggling. He even made the point that Thanos, with the full Infinity Gauntlet, probably had only a fraction of the power Franklin commands. Those huge, epic fights in Infinity War.
Yeah.
In the comics, if Franklin was there at full power, 5 seconds, tops. Franklin would just blink, and it'd be over.
So this raises that really important question. If you introduce Franklin Richards into the MCU with that level of power, the power we just talked about, how do you create any sense of threat, any stakes at all? How do you make the audience actually care about the villains or the conflicts when there's a character who could theoretically just snap his fingers and solve any problem? And, fans who know Franklin's comic history, they're definitely going to be upset if his powers get seriously nerfed without a really good story reason. The MCU needs a clever workaround here.
So, okay. What does this all mean for the MCU now that he's actually showing up? It seems pretty clear they can't just drop the full-blown Hickman-level universe-creating Franklin into the middle of everything without completely breaking the narrative. But he's too important to the Fantastic Four, to Marvel history, to just leave out. So we've been kicking around some ideas, some ways Marvel could maybe introduce him without him becoming this instant fix-everything button, this total Deus ex machina.
Right. This is where the creative adaptation comes in. You got to respect the core of a character, his potential, but make it work for a different medium, for the screen.
Okay, so the first strategy, maybe the simplest one, focus on a younger, unaware Franklin. We've seen it in the comics, right? His powers often pop up unpredictably, especially when he's stressed, emotional, or even when he's asleep, like creating universes under his blanket without meaning to. If the MCU shows him as just a kid having these weird, unpredictable power surges, it keeps him interesting, kind of mysterious, but he's not an immediate problem solver. He could be like a cosmic ticking time bomb, a source of tension, not a solution.
Yeah, that approach has built-in narrative tension, doesn't it? You got this kid with unimaginable power, but it's untamed, maybe even dangerous to himself or his family. It allows for mystery, a slow burn development of his character and abilities, rather than just, bam, instant God mode. And it keeps him sympathetic, too, because he's just a kid struggling with something way beyond his understanding. That's pretty relatable, even on a cosmic scale.
Absolutely. Okay, another angle, and this one builds directly on stuff from the comics. Introduce artificial limiters or some kind of power suppression, like think Days of Future Past again, with that mutant suppression collar. Or remember Reed himself putting those mental blocks on Franklin's mind in Fantastic Four, #245.
That feels like a very viable path for the MCU. You could have Reed do it, trying to protect him or protect the world from him, or maybe an external force imposes limits like Kang, or maybe Doctor Doom gets involved, or even the TVA thinking about the wider multiverse saga. That creates a really compelling potential story arc, doesn't it? What happens when those suppressors inevitably start to fail, or when Franklin consciously starts pushing against them? It's a smart way to control his power level for the story while still acknowledging the immense potential underneath and setting up future growth.
Yeah, definitely. Then there's this idea that he reframe him more as potential rather than an immediate god. The MCU's done this before, right? Like with Wanda. She was powerful in Age of Ultron, sure, but she only really became the Scarlet Witch with her full reality-warping chaos magic much later in her arc. Franklin could maybe follow a similar path.
Right.
Introduce him as Reed and Sue's son, show hints of this immense latent power over maybe multiple projects, and slowly build towards his full capabilities rather than starting him there.
I really think that slow burn is essential. It lets the audience grow with the character, understand his journey, his struggles. It becomes less about how powerful is he right now and more about the incredible destiny he's slowly growing into. You invest in him, the person, not just the spectacle of his powers. And it would also let them ease into some of the weirder, more cosmic comic stuff gradually.
And speaking of destiny and consequences,
Yeah.
one really intriguing strategy, especially with where the MCU is going, is to tie his power directly to multiversal consequences. Like, imagine if him using too much power or using it carelessly could actually cause incursions. Like we saw threaten everything in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Oh, okay.
That would give him a very real, very terrifying reason not to just unleash his full strength all the time. He wouldn't just be fixing things. Using his power could risk everything, everywhere.
That completely transforms him, doesn't it? From just a fix-it character into this, like, a walking ethical quandary. He could solve problems, but doing so might literally collapse entire realities. That fits perfectly within Marvel's whole evolving multiverse saga.
Yeah.
It adds this heavy layer of moral complexity to his abilities. It makes him a character whose choices matter immensely, not just his raw power output. The stakes would always be personal and potentially universal.
Exactly. And finally, and I think this may be the most crucial one, Marvel absolutely has to ground his story in emotion and family. Because at his core, Franklin isn't just some cosmic entity, right? He's a child. He's Reed and Sue's son. If they center his story around his relationship with his parents, maybe his struggles with feeling different or trying to protect his family without fully understanding how, that adds the emotional weight that humanizes even godlike abilities. It makes us actually care about him, not just what he can do.
That's such a fantastic point. Marvel really excels when it finds the human heart inside its heroes, no matter how powerful they are. If the audience connects with Franklin on that emotional level, focuses on his humanity, his bond with his parents, his fears, his hopes, rather than just his insane power level, they'll care about him as a character, not just a plot device. His struggles become relatable somehow, even if his specific powers are completely unrelatable.
So, thinking about all those, which approach, or maybe combination, do you think would be most effective for the MCU? I'm kind of leaning towards a mix myself. Maybe start with the younger, unaware Franklin, but definitely layer in those multiversal consequences as a looming threat as he starts to understand and test his gifts.
I think I agree. Starting him as a child, letting us see that immense potential slowly bubble up, and then introducing the terrifying stakes of, say, incursions if he goes too far. That gives him real depth, real purpose, without immediately making him this overpowered solution to every single problem. It feels like a natural way to build his character arc over time.
So yeah, there you have it, Franklin Richards. He's not too powerful to exist in the MCU, but he's certainly way too powerful to just be dropped in carelessly, without some really clever writing and careful consideration.
Yeah.
Marvel's adjusted character power levels for the movies plenty of times before, and Franklin, well, he's going to be maybe the biggest adjustment they've had to make yet.
Yeah, ultimately, Marvel's biggest challenge with Franklin, it isn't just managing his raw power level, it's figuring out how they make us, the audience, care about a character who could, theoretically, fix almost anything. What kind of stakes does that really leave if he isn't genuinely struggling with the cost or the consequences of having that power? It's a really fascinating narrative puzzle for them to solve going forward.
It really is. So what do you think? How should Marvel handle Franklin Richards now that he's on the way? What kind of stories would you actually like to see him be a part of? Let us know. And thanks so much for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.